I could see at least two teams missing out with a winning record: Houston and Kansas City.
Really, it's going to be a battle of the two offenses in this case. So I predict a high-scoring game.
They should have tanked for Trevor Lawrence instead of just missing out on Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase or what's Tua Tagovailoa. They missed out on three quarterbacks.
Back in, like, say, Madden, the original Madden 25 franchise mode, it would have been generated during one of the off seasons. You get a random, like, Kurt Warner coming out of retirement or Ray Lewis coming out of retirement storyline. Seattle Seahawks, Los Angeles Rams rematch.
This is going to determine who wins the division. The Los Angeles Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks.
Good evening, folks. It is that time, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're one Tuesday shy of Christmas, which means it's the Christmas special NFL Pick'ems intro. I'm joined by my co-host, Agent Warrior X. We're fresh off the end of Week 16. Turn around, we get ready for Week 17, starting Christmas Day.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. This is your co-host. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, football fans. This is Agent Warrior X. And today is December 23rd, 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially arrived. We're 2 days away from the greatest holiday of all time, Christmas. We have Hanukkah already passed, but now this is on week 17. I kid you not. Week 16 was one of the greatest weeks we've ever watched. And I tell you, I was in shock about the Seattle Seahawks. And I said this is going to determine who wins the division. And I said the Seahawks with Sam Darnold, sometimes he threw crucial interceptions, but with Los Angeles defense, they have been really good. But overall, they choked the lead. And Puka Nacua was fine. Then we have the Bears versus the Packers. That game was amazing. I didn't see the full game of it, but I know this much that the Bears won. And to top it all off, the Packers have officially dropping from 5th to 7th in the playoffs. The Bears have a shot to clinch the NFC North. Now, for the Ravens and Patriots, this was no-brainer because Drake May has officially played his best on primetime. And congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles once again for clinching the NFC East once again. So my honest thought about this is expected. This was truly expected in terms of teams clinching the division, and this is one of them. For the Giants, they put up a good fight against Minnesota. But did you see that hit with Brian Burns, Nikki? That was one of the craziest hits I've ever seen from Brian Burns, and I'm glad he got into the Pro Bowl this year.
Hey, you got every team at least has one player, but you know what's a crazy stat? I didn't even know this until today. So this is my first time discovering it. The Jets, with 2 games left in the season, as a defense, have recorded 0 interceptions. I kid you not. 0 interceptions this season.
I do not know what to say. Is our defense much more better than the Jets, or the fact that the Jets hasn't thrown out one turnover? Now, speaking of the Raiders have been playing a lot better, and against that elite defense, I say good luck with that, and look how that turned out. They put up a fight with Ascenti, but ultimately it came down to the wire with C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins and all that type of stuff. But Monday night, no-brainer. 49ers are one step closer to clinching the NFC AFC North with the division now completely open for the next 2 weeks.
And for Philip Rivers, I'll say this. I consider the comeback, like I said earlier on the 3-point blitz, it's a failed experiment. He's gave it a shot, and I give him that. And to be fair, for a guy that's in his mid 40s coming off the couch, he put up a hell of a fight. But particularly in the second half, that's where his age started to catch up to him. And yeah, you got to be able to have the stamina to play full 4 quarters. Coming off the couch, playing a couple games after being a coach for a few years, having played it down since January 2021, it's not just something that you can do to be able to play a full 4 quarters of football. And it caught up in the second half. So I give him credit for trying, but I consider it so far a failed experiment. And unfortunately for the Colts, the collapse is now official.
Yep, and I thought the Giants were in such misery because they let Daniel Jones go to the Colts, which by the way, I really hope he can recover well and probably give him like a few couple years to the Indianapolis Colts. Now for week 17, we're in for a special treat. This is going to determine who wins the division. This is going to determine who missed the playoffs, and the Christmas games in my opinion is slightly disappointing. Not too shabby, but it's slightly disappointing in terms of the matches. But considering how the halftime show played out with Snoop will play out with Snoop Dogg, I don't know. We've seen halftime shows with famous pop artists, halftime shows. You know, the Super Bowl was a traditional way for halftime shows like Michael Jackson or David Bowie or Eminem, Kendrick, Dr. Dre, Queen Latifah. You can name every music artist that is popular and still they can perform great depending how. Or even the weekend. Weekend actually did much more actually amazing in that 2020 Super Bowl halftime show.
But I mean, Snoop Dogg, it depends on what they do with it. I mean, it could be entertaining. It's ultimate. I mean, it'll definitely be for Snoop Dogg's fan base. They'll enjoy it for sure. So, but just like any halftime show, it's an acquired taste. Whoever is a fan of them will certainly enjoy it. In that case, the Snoop Dogg fan base will certainly enjoy it. The same way the hip hop fan base loved that Super Bowl 56 halftime show with him, Dre, M50, Kendrick, and
Mary
what's Mary
J.
J.
Mary
Blige.
J. Yeah.
That was a good show. But it ultimately, so we'll have to see about that one. But as far as week 16 goes, well, we saw the Colts collapse official. But speaking of collapses, it's time that we talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I saw Todd Bowles try to imply that confidence is still up when I read the recap earlier. I'm like, wait a minute, how is that possible? You were 6-2, now you're 7-8. I don't see how you can feel confident about that at all.
I really don't know what's going on here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I know people say that the Buccaneers are supposed to be favored. And I know the Panthers are supposed to be the most irrelevant team. They're not even close to being a contender. First off, that Panthers game shouldn't even been this close. The Todd Bowles was horrible in the second half, despite the fact that they try to come back from it. And to top it all off, Todd Bowles is now officially on the hot seat. And so is John Harbaugh.
And oh yeah, then speaking of that, dude, for I crazy. I still see a lot of people are going to talk about the Zay Flowers fumble. First off, you got to realize something. Zay Flowers was the lead receiver for the Ravens, caught every reception he was targeted on. He made one mistake, but this came after the team blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. This being the second time they blew a lead 10 or more points on Sunday Night Football. If you take those two games, reverse the outcomes of it, Ravens are instead of sitting at 7-8 or sitting at 9-6 and tied with the Steelers for first place in the AFC North. Just those two collapses made a big difference in the Ravens season and may be the difference in John Harbaugh's future or who the future coach will be. Because sometimes, like you could see the Patriots, they had Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in their franchise's history, but they knew it reached its expiration date. They moved on. Now they're with Mike Vrabel. that they're like brand new and they're riding high all over again. Maybe the Ravens just need that. It's like, look, Harbaugh, similar situation to Belichick, best coach in franchise history, but I think it's time for a change. It ran its course. Time to bring in a new face.
I couldn't agree more with you on that one. And by the way, Brony Gamer said that the Colts are falling apart. And if I'm being honest with you, the Colts, yeah, this is officially a collapse. How do you go from the first place in the AFC to this? How do you go from that? And I save the best for last. I say the best for last in terms of week 16. Lions versus Packers. Dear God, this is supposed to be the greatest football game? In my perspective, we saw what happened with we saw what happened with Aaron Rodgers in the second half. Aaron Rodgers played amazing, but Jared Goff absolutely played his heart out. And on top of it all off, Jared Goff was this close, but because they got the penalty right, they were because they got the penalty right in terms of offensive pass interference. This, in my opinion, was the most controversial thing I've ever seen. I understand that the Lions want to win out of the out of the playoffs, but to top it all off, this in my opinion, this in my opinion, the Lions was an NFC North hangover. I'm sorry.
And at the same time, too, I've also noticed there's several things I noticed in this game. The call at the end, the Lions' inefficiency running the ball and going for it on fourth and goal earlier in the game not to convert. If they would have just kicked the easy field goal late in the game, you're only down 29-27. You could kick a game winning field goal in that situation. That's something else that could have made a difference too. So that's an example of Dan Campbell's gambling coming back to bite him. Whereas the Seattle Seahawks had to gamble in their comeback the entire time with their backs against the wall. Two 2-point conversions in the fourth quarter, like New England had to against Atlanta in Super Bowl 51. They succeeded. They decided to go for it in overtime, down one to go for the win, seeing that it worked twice, and the gamble worked. But for Detroit Lions, their fourth down gamble, fourth and goal, ultimately played a role in costing them in the end.
And that's exactly why I said that teams like these needs to win out. Texans needs to win out. Um, the Bills. Speaking of Buffalo, they're this close for clinching the AFC East if the Patriots lose out. They're already in the playoffs. So is the Chargers, and so is the Jaguars. Three
Yep.
teams already clinched the playoffs. Now the only objective for a few teams remains: win the division and gain home field advantage.
And for the teams that are in, I got to say this Jim Harbaugh and Liam Cohen, two examples of what happens when you bring in a new coach, how a new coach can fix the team. For the Chargers, this is Jim Harbaugh's second season. First time making the playoffs back to back years since 2008 and 2009. Liam Cohen with the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is on his hottest streak going into the last couple weeks of the season he's had his entire career. Sometimes all it takes is a change at coach, and all of a sudden it can turn a struggling organization around. See Mike Vrabel with the Patriots as a third example. All of them now in the playoffs in the AFC.
Which is why I would say that this, in my opinion, was the greatest week we've ever watched. We've seen some epic games. We've seen some great games. We've seen some amazing moments where we say, oh, wow, this team is going to be great. Oh, wow, this team is going to be losing out. And unfortunately for Dallas, it's pretty much the same. 30 years without an NFC championship appearance. The last time the last time the Cowboys made it to the NFC championship was in 95. It's not in 96, but it's in 95. The last the last time that happened, Mobb Deep released their album The Infamous. The Braves won the World Series in 95. You had
The Rockets.
the Rockets winning the NBA Finals. Speaking of NBA, NBA, we got a lot of things to cover after our hot takes because this is going to be one Christmas we will never forget.
Yes, and I'll just end it on this note. Andy Reid, history repeated itself twice. Back in 2002, Donovan McNabb went down with a broken ankle. Very next week, Coy Detmer goes down with a shoulder injury on Monday night. They turned to third stringer AJ Feely. This year, Patrick Mahomes goes down one week, backup Gardner Minshew goes down the next. And now they're stuck on Christmas Day with their third string quarterback.
I don't know who's going to be the Scrooge or who's going to be the Grinch because this is going to be an amazing game. Oh, and the Nets are beating the Sixers at the moment. Great.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I looked at the Christmas schedule. I mean, honestly, with the football portion of it, I'll say the football more interesting games are going to come more Sunday. It's one of those things they pick games that looked interesting at the time, but it looks like the NBA games are going to be more interesting because we start with a game, Commanders and Cowboys, that looked interesting when they put the schedule together, but as we can tell, it's not going to be the most exciting game, except maybe for Cowboy fans.
This is a Christmas tank bowl. No lie about it. But I won't say that even further because the Cowboys are 6-8-1. We have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington Commanders. The Commanders, there there was no explanation because because Marcus Mariota played his absolute worst against the Eagles. Dallas, they were coming off a must-win game again against the Chargers. Beating the Chargers isn't for everyone, you know. And I kid you not, Dak Prescott played his heart out, but it's not enough. Looks like the Cowboys are gonna have to find a new way to focus on the defense more than just offense. But I got the Cowboys winning on the first day of Christmas, on the first Christmas game of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, pretty much. And the Cowboys, it's been a down year for them, but they did manage to make it to 6 wins. So they've been a competitive team all season. Whereas the Commanders have had no luck going for them. So if for that alone, I got to say, I'll take the Cowboys in this one to beat the banged up Commanders, who honestly, I feel bad for their fans because this was the first season in a long time they had hopes that there would be something and it just didn't pan out. But I'll say this, the one difference between Washington and Dallas fans is Dallas fans cling on to the past. Washington fans are more humble about the fact it's been a really long time since their team has done something significant. But
And I
that's
and I feel happy for Commanders fans when they made it to the NFC Championship. And for Dallas, they're more comparable to the New York Mets.
Well, this probably is going to be the best Christmas game, I'd say, considering the circumstance for in the final one, which we'll get to. Vikings versus Lions. Not a great game, but it'll probably be a competitive game and should be the best out of the three.
It should never be this close. Lions versus Vikings. We've seen how Max Brosmer did against the Giants. Brian Flores' defense looked absolutely amazing in the second half, despite beat leading by 3 points. Detroit, they were coming off a tough loss, but I got them bouncing back. If they win out, all they have to do is just win out for the rest of the season. So they have no other option but to grind their way and haul and maul their way to the playoffs.
But they
Lions
also
or
need the Packers to lose a few games too. So that, but the Lions definitely against the Vikings. They'll play like their season's on the line. They got more to play for. I don't believe the Lions are going to throw this game. So they'll go out there, take out their frustrations over this disappointing season by contender standards and pretty much take it out on the Vikings and have a Christmas Day feast. I don't know, maybe Sonic and Knuckles have a 2020 Alvin Kamara-ish type game. What I mean by that is they might combine to dominate the Vikings defense, kind of like Kamara did single-handedly a while back.
I could see that happening.
But I definitely got the Lions in this one. And this game, this looked like it would have been a good game, but sorry, Kansas City. Good luck against Denver.
Every NFL fan loved Christmas a lot, but the Chiefs, who lived up north in the AFC West did not. The Chiefs hated Christmas. The Chiefs lost their two best players, which is why Denver, the Broncos, they threw out their war horses and will run over the Chiefs because the Chiefs are the mean ones. You're a mean one, Mr. Chiefs. You lost two QBs who tore their ACLs with Minshew and Mahomes, Mr. Chiefs. The Philadelphia Eagles have broken your delusional fan base. And this is why there will be a winner. Broncos over Chiefs.
It's actually, you know what? Back after the Super Bowl, Simone, who's an Eagles content creator that I follow, put it best. She said that we broke Kansas City's aura. Mind you, this was the week after the game was played. And it turns out that take was absolutely correct the way Kansas City's played this season. That aura is gone, at least for a while. Give me the Broncos, who have become rejuvenized as contenders, to bounce back from that Jaguars loss and take it out on Kansas City, whatever's left of their team. And I forget the third stringer's name at the moment, but I feel bad he's going to have to spend Christmas Day getting destroyed by Nick Bonito, Pat Surtain, and that Broncos defense.
And I kid you not, this is going to hurt the Chiefs a little bit longer because they could be out until like next year's week 15. But I don't see that happening. This Saturday game, we have the Houston Texans versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The Texans, well, great win. Their defense is still elite. CJ Stroud is still doing great, but the thing is, they need to cut down on a few miscues. The Chargers, well, they're one step closer for the AFC West contention, but all they have to do is just win out. But considering how this is a rematch of last year's AFC wildcard matchup, the Texans defense is still elite. Give me the Texans over the Chargers.
Ooh, this is actually, like I said, the Christmas schedule going into the season would have seemed good, but the games after that is where it picks up. And we pick up Saturday evening, Chargers and Texans. This is going to be a good matchup. This is going to be the toughest game of the Houston Texans winning streak. But I'm most curious, though, the most interesting matchups are how do the Chargers handle that Texans defense that people now finally woke up and realized they're a really good defense. I think now the new underrated defense are the Panthers, but that's for another game. And the other matchup is the Chargers defensive backs. They've been excellent against the pass. How is CJ Stroud going to do in that regard? So this, I feel like, has the potential to be a close matchup. I feel like it's going to come kind of be a little bit like score wise, kind of like the Eagles Chargers game, like late, like high teens, low 20s ish, with the Chargers winning a close game against the Texans.
And I will say that this is going to be a close matchup, but in my perspective, I could see that Will Anderson going up against Justin Herbert. But there is one problem though. They miss out on Joe Alt, which I feel sorry for.
Yep. To me, it's all going to come down to not just this game, but for the Texans in the long term, CJ Stroud. Like come playoff time, that's really where it's going to make a difference, especially when they got to go potentially go up against the Broncos, the Patriots, possibly the Chargers in a rematch, possibly the Bills. That's where I feel like it's going to really matter come playoff time. We know what this defense is, but can this offense, especially CJ Stroud, get back to that elite play and those flashes we saw his rookie year? And then we close out Saturday night, Green Bay Packers hosting the Baltimore Ravens.
Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Green Bay Packers. Lamar Jackson, well, he could be out for the rest of the season because he now has a potential back injury. Uh, Green Bay, they were coming off a tough loss against the Bears. And on top of it all off, Josh Jacobs has been really solid, but the defense is really hurt. But in terms of the situation when it comes to winning out, I could see the Packers winning out.
I mean, honestly, it could be the Ravens we know are a competitive team, but this whole season has been a disappointment by Raven standards. After two strong regular seasons, now you're going 7-8, and they're going against the Packers team with Lamar Jackson, like you said, we don't know about his back, and he is day to day as of now, so we don't even know if he's going to play Saturday or not. And considering the way they've collapsed in big games, I like the Packers' chance in this one against the Ravens. So I'll take the Packers to win, which if they do win, that could officially knock the Detroit Lions out of the playoffs potentially. So,
And
but
that will be pretty much it.
right. And for the Green Bay Packers, it's perfect at home. They could get the win. I think against that Ravens defense, that's a pretty good matchup. So give me the Packers to win this game. And then we switch over to Sunday.
I won't consider this a tank bowl, but it is. Cardinals versus Cardinals versus Bengals. Um, Jacoby Brissett is doing terrible. They're wasting Marvin Harrison Jr.'s career there, and the defense not so good. Bengals not too good, but I could see the Bengals winning it. I'm not going to waste you further time.
Yeah. I'll put it this way. In terms of the tank aspect of it, the Cardinals are going to win. But the Bengals, at least their offense will show up. It's going to be like the game against the Dolphins, where an angry Joe Burrow and an angry Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to take out their frustrations on the Arizona Cardinals and stat pad their way to victory. Now, this next game actually looks interesting. A potential upset. Panthers hosting the Seahawks. I mean, they did upset the Rams so at home, so it is possible.
This could be a potential playoff matchup. The Seattle Seahawks versus the Carolina Panthers. Seahawks, amazing. With JSN and that comeback with that 2-point conversion, amazing. Carolina, all they have to do is just win out for the rest of the season and they're NFC South champions. But it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a shootout between those two. If I had to choose one, Carolina. Carolina will win the NFC South.
And this is an interesting game because on paper, this looks like a real easy game for the Seahawks, fresh off a win over the Rams. But two things we got to remember. The Panthers upset the Rams, as I stated a few weeks ago, and they got a couple turnovers on Matthew Stafford, who's an MVP candidate. And Sam Darnold, wow, he's been good. He still sometimes is mistake prone. We saw him make a couple turnovers in that game as well. And then we even saw about a month ago against the Cardinals on Monday night, Darnold had a few turnovers in that one despite a Seahawks win. So, and knowing this Panthers secondary is pretty underrated, they're pretty good at getting takeaways and forcing fumbles. I think the Panthers could force Darnold to make some mistakes in this one because this might be a good matchup for them. But depends on, though, how does that offense match up against the Seahawks defense? Seahawks defense is a better defense than the Rams, and this could be a close matchup, a lot closer than some people might think it is. But I'm gonna have to go. I will go with the Seahawks, but in a close game.
Yeah, like I said, this is going to be a shootout between those two because both of them now, they look like a competitive team to be reckoned with.
And I think, like I said, it could either be the Seahawks just get the better of them because they have the better roster, or maybe the Panthers defense steps up and either one of those are going to be the factor. Now, this next game, okay, this should be pretty straightforward. Browns hosting the Steelers.
This will be perfect timing for the Steelers to clinch the AFC North when they go up against the Browns. The Steelers were coming off a very close game against the Lions where they nearly choked. The Browns, this was no brainer because the fact that that Shador pretty much messed up in crucial situations, but he still balled out. But considering how this is going to turn out, I think the Steelers will pretty much win out, will get the victory to continue their way to have a playoff game and potentially the AFC North.
I mean, I definitely got pretty straightforward. I got the Steelers winning this game. They're the better all around team. And usually with rookie quarterbacks that start on bad teams, it usually they're going to struggle their rookie season if they're in a bad team situation. We saw with Bryce Young his rookie year. He struggled on that team. Aikman with the Cowboys when they were really bad his rookie year struggled. So the point I'm getting is I'm not counting Shador out, but this season, obviously it's been a struggle for obvious reasons. So when it
Same
comes
thing
to
with
this
Jackson
game,
Dart. Same thing with Dart. He started off great, but ultimately the coaching was his Achilles heel. So I won't consider Dart a great quarterback, but he's a really off to a rough start.
you could
Again, this
even
is a
see,
struggle.
respectively, both Peyton and Eli struggled their rookie years. They eventually turned the ship around, but their rookie years were struggles. So, point is, I got the Steelers winning this game. They're the much better team headed into this one. Next one, Titans versus Saints.
How many tank bowls are we getting this holiday season? Because this, to be honest with you, this shouldn't even been this close. This is a tank bowl that two teams already destroyed their tank. Tyler Shook looks like a really good quarterback, and Cam Ward is looking like a struggling quarterback, like you mentioned earlier. Um, the Saints defense looks really good with Kool-Aid McKinstry. With the Titans with Cam Ward and Tony Pollard, I could see this play out, but I see the Saints winning it.
Yeah, I will go with the Saints in this one because at least this year we're starting with the Saints as bad as they are. We're starting to see them play a little bit better in recent weeks. Particularly Tyler shows at least starting to catch on a little bit. So, and with the Titans, they still got a long way to go. Yes, they're fresh off a win, but they're fresh off a can't at this point. Kansas City and New Orleans at this point in the season are going in opposite directions. New Orleans at least looks like they could be an okay team, but Kansas City looks like they need to just go back to the drawing board. So now the Titans going against New Orleans. I'll go with New Orleans in this one. I don't think it's going to be spectacular, but New Orleans will find a way to win.
This is no brainer. Jaguars versus Colts. Philip Rivers, tough loss against the 49ers. The Jaguars are one step away to clinching the AFC South like they did a couple years ago. Even without Travis Hunter, even without those players, even without their best defender, with Josh Hines Allen, they still look amazing on paper. And I could see the Jaguars can make another good playoff run. Jaguars over Colts. Trevor Lawrence can have 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yep. At this point, Jaguars, it's a perfect opportunity for them. Continue that momentum. You beat the Denver Broncos. You already beat the Colts once. Now you're playing them again. I mean, oh, probably the Colts will put up a fight in the first half, like we saw last night, but then they'll probably get creamed in the second half. And I think the Jaguars, great up. You saw Brock Purdy threw 5 touchdowns against this defense. Give me Trevor Lawrence to continue the best streak of his career. Give me Jaguars over Colts.
We have the Battle of Florida between the Dolphins and the Buccaneers. The Dolphins, well, they're they're not the same as we once knew. Tua Tagovailoa is rumored to leave Miami. Meanwhile, Mike McDaniel is pretty much staying here. The Buccaneers with Todd Bowles, I could see this another late season collapse happening. But however, this could potentially be one lopsided. If the Panthers lose against the Seahawks, they could get right back in the game. Tampa over Miami to win the battle of Florida.
Same here. I mean, because Tampa Bay, even with their collapse, the Dolphins are worse off this year. I'll say Tampa Bay's been more embarrassing because of the way they fell off, but Dolphins are worse as an all around team. And with Tua pretty much being all but done as a Dolphin as of right now, yeah, I'll take Tampa Bay to win this game. They just got to hope the Panthers lose the Seahawks as expected just to even have a shot. But I'll put it this way. I think Seahawks win, Bucks win, then week 18 next the week after Panthers beat the Bucks. But I got the Bucks to beat the Dolphins in this one and get up to 8 wins. Oh gosh.
Not even going to waste your time. The Jets are done. They're not even close to a playoff contention, nor becoming the best team in New York at all. The Patriots versus Giants. Drake May was coming off a great comeback against the Ravens. This is the same situation they had on Thursday Night Football before Justin Fields was benched. So, Patriots over Jets because Drake May has a far better offense than the Jets. And especially going up against Stephon Diggs, the Jets defense more than likely lost a plot.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. After 1 year of being able to finally get a sweep on the Patriots, it goes right back to the old story of the Patriots being the far better team than the Jets. They'll win this game, get to 13 wins on the season. Okay. Go for it.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the greatest holiday special. This is the battle for the number one pick. Prepare yourselves for a super Christmas Tank Bowl. The New York Giants versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were coming off a very tough loss against the Texans defense. Asher Genty looked amazing. Geno Smith looked amazing. Brock Bowers looked amazing. Max Crosby did amazing. But the Giants, I mentioned they were bad, but the running game was overused. I forgot to cover that. The running game for the New York Giants this whole game was overused during the run game. Less passing, more running, and potentially more interceptions. But it's going to come down to the wire to see who would truly win the Tank Bowl. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2025 Tank Bowl is the New York Giants. Raiders over Giants.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to expect in this one, honestly, except it's going to probably be like that 2019 game between Washington and Miami where there was lots of punts early and somebody just had to win at the end. That's probably what we're going to see here, but
or the Bengals or the Dolphins in 2020. That game was amazing. The Super Tank Bowl to determine who got the number one pick, and it went into overtime. I will be surprised in 5 years later if this happens the same situation with the Giants and Raiders. This could potentially be one of the greatest tank bowls we ever seen.
I'll take the Giants in this one. Jackson Dart will probably have himself maybe his second best game of the season. And Giants will win this game and the Raiders will win the tank. And if that happens, Raiders fans, considering it a blessing, you finally get in position to draft a quarterback, which you really should have done 2 drafts ago.
The Raiders, if they win this game against the Giants, because by the way, two defenses are god awful. Keep in mind, the Raiders defense are worse. The Giants defense are worse, but the Raiders defense has a slighter advantage because they could stop the run game. For the Giants, they have a better shot of they have a better defense in passing game. But it's gonna come down to two defenses once we find out on Sunday.
Yep. And now, this actually is a bit of an interesting game. Buffalo Bills hosting my Philadelphia Eagles.
We got the Buffalo Bills versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Buffalo was coming off a very great, gritty win against the Browns. Philadelphia was coming off a great win against the Washington Commanders. Now, this is a team. Could be potentially a Super Bowl matchup between those two. If Buffalo wins out for the rest of the division, they have a shot to go to make a deep playoff run. You got Joey Bosa. You got you got Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. Jalen Hurts looks like a mediocre quarterback, no offense. And Saquon Barkley, well, he has been very good as of lately, but for the rest of the season, he's been down ever since that Madden curse. AJ Brown, well, he has been doing some great things, but not by a long shot. Devontae Smith, what else is there to say? But I would rather see James Cook run over the Eagles defense by 30 or 50 yards. And I would say that Josh Allen might have the advantage, but because the Eagles defense looks slightly better, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills because they have a slight advantage because the offense is looking like a top 10 offense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would. Obviously, I got my bias in favor of the Eagles. I want them to win. But in this matchup, I mean, we got to remember the Eagles are off 2 blowout wins, but against the likes of the Washington Commanders, and then prior to that, the Las Vegas Raiders. Remember, they played against teams such as the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Chargers, and they struggled in those games. So,
That's because Kevin Patullo's offense is actually one of the worst. Do you know who he was before you hired him? Before Kellen Moore departed to the Saints? He was a former QB coach for the New York Jets. Seems like you vouch for a rat.
and in this one, I got to say, man, I don't trust the play calling in this one. And going against Buffalo, a tougher team, I don't know how the Eagles are going to fare in this one. I mean, Buffalo's defense might be a weak point, but Buffalo is still the better team. So I got them to win. I want to be wrong, but I think Buffalo's going to win. Now, this actually, the Sunday night matchup,
That's
49ers
going to
hosting the
determine who wins the
Bears.
division. In the respective divisions, this is going to determine who wins the division. The Chicago Bears versus the San Francisco 49ers. The Bears were coming off a very great win against the Packers. The 49ers were coming off a really great victory against the Colts. Hear me out. Between Christian McCaffrey and DeAndre Swift, this is going to be a really good running back matchup between those two. The upper hand belongs to quarterback and running back, Caleb Williams and Devontae Smith. For sorry, Caleb Williams and Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is a far better running back than DeAndre Swift. The defense without Nick Bosa, I think this could be a one lopsided by the second half. Bears over 49ers.
This is an interesting matchup. Now the Bears, to their credit, they've had what 5 comebacks in the fourth quarter in their wins this season. So I know the Bears find ways to make a turnaround late, but I don't know. I might have to go. I mean, 49ers are the toughest team the Bears have played in a while, so I think it'll be a competitive matchup, but I got the 49ers winning this one against the Bears. I think Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle will have a really good game. The Bears will put up a fight, but I feel like the 49ers will have their number in this one in a competitive matchup. And then we get the Monday night matchup. Rams versus Falcons.
I don't even know why the Falcons even traded that pick to the Rams. They could have just waited until next year to get a better quarterback. But considering how Los Angeles played out against the Seahawks, which I thought it was going to be one lopsided, I could see this as one lopsided this one. Take their frustrations out, beat the Falcons, you're good to go. Rams over Falcons. By the way, the Rams sincerely thanks you for trading that next year's pick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the Rams, oh, this is going to be a fun Monday night game for them. You could just get a win, get back to 12 wins. Also, hope that the Seahawks get upset by the Panthers. But either way, for the Rams, any frustrations you have with the Seahawks game, just take it out on the Falcons. Yeah, Falcons have had a little mini winning streak going, but you look at the teams they beat, they haven't played anyone on the Rams caliber yet. So I'll take the Rams. to have this win. Matthew Stafford will dice up that Falcons defense and have himself a really good game. Obviously, most of those 68 points will be the Rams in a blowout over the Falcons. So that'll be that for the games during the week.
And you know what? Speaking of that, I heard Joel Embiid is out with a knee injury again. He just can't stay healthy, can he?
You know what? At this point, I and many other Sixers fans are just saying, you know what? I think the process has ran its course. It's clearly Tyrese Maxey's the best player on the team right now.
And so
And
is
VJ,
VJ. VJ is
yeah, and
also your
VJ
best player on the
Edgecombe
team.
showed some promise thus far. I think going forward, you got to focus on Maxey and Edgecombe as the future of this team. I mean, for goodness sake, Andre Drummond is looking like a passable. He's looking even as a role playing center, like a better option than Embiid because he's more available. And when he does play, he's doing all right. Even on Saturday, he had 3 threes against the Knicks in that win.
I kid you not. Michael Porter Jr. is playing his absolute best against you guys, and so is Diego Demon.
I mean,
I kid you not. I'm dead serious, Nikki. He has 25 points per. He's averaging 25 points per game against you guys. In fact, Michael Porter Jr., when he was traded to the Nets, he immediately had a spark. I thought he was going to be similar to what we had with Cam Johnson. But drafting Diego Demon may be the best idea. Now for the Christmas games. We have the first Christmas game between the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the New York Knicks. The Knicks were coming off, a really great NBA Cup run against the Spurs. Cleveland, let's just say that Cleveland has officially become the best. But with Donovan Mitchell and having other players with Evan Mobley, I could see this playing out in terms of one lopsided. Despite Cat's efforts, besides Mikael Bridges' efforts, besides every Knicks player's efforts, it's still not enough to go against the Cavaliers, especially with Jalen Brunson potentially out. So I got the Cavaliers winning the first game of Christmas.
if Brunson is out, then yeah, I will go with the Cavs if that's the case. But it should be a fun game. Then you got a good one out west.
Yep, the Spurs versus the Thunder. The Thunder, let's just say they're the defending champions, and they only have 3 losses. The Spurs, well, Victor Wembanyama has been balling out, but the Thunder are far more superior than the Spurs. So give me the Thunder over the Spurs.
Yep, I'll take the Thunder in that one. I mean, it should be a good game. I think, and possibly even a potential playoff series preview, as are the other two of the other 3 games out west. But I'll take the Thunder to win this one, especially since it's in OKC. They got the home court advantage.
And plus, SGA is doing his best besides being a foul merchant. Next up, we have the Mavericks versus the Warriors. Cooper Flag, he's doing it, showcasing this rookie season. And the Warriors, well, let's just say the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry is doing his best, but it's not by a long shot. But I would say that Dallas might have the upper advantage in terms of the defense. Give me the Mavericks over the Warriors because I think Cooper Flag could carry the team.
Yeah, I'll. Oh, that's going to be a tough game. I don't know. I mean, it depends on who's playing, though, too. Like, if the Warrior starters are playing, they might be able to win that game. Because the Mavericks, I mean, Cooper Flag starting to show some flashes, but the Mavericks still have a long way to go as a team. If the Warriors had their guys healthy, they win. If not, then give me the Mavs to win.
And I kid you not, I would say that Steph Curry with Jimmy Butler has been playing a lot more better. And then the Christmas night game, besides the Broncos and Chiefs, you have the Lakers versus the Rockets. Kevin Durant. Well, let's just say Kevin Durant is doing Kevin Durant things. You have LeBron James doing King things. You have Luka Doncic now looking like his MVP like season. And top it all off, they still got their best players. But it's going to be close between when it comes to fourth quarter situations. Give me the Lakers over the Rockets.
That's going to be Interesting game. I'll take the Lakers in this one, but another player you're going to watch out for. I probably butcher his first name, but Sengun from the Rockets. He's been having a pretty solid season this year, and they kind of slept on a little bit.
I agree with you because Sengun has been playing a lot more better. And on top of it all off, I think we could potentially see a matchup between Kevin Durant and LeBron James for the second time in a while. And then the final Christmas game, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Denver Nuggets. With Cam Johnson now on the team, I think Nikola Jokic looks like a really good player to be reckoned with. Minnesota with Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, you could name every player on that team. But I think the defense wise, give me the Nuggets over the Wolves. Despite the efforts from Anthony Edwards, I think the Nuggets can top it all off.
Yeah, I got this being a close game and even potentially a playoff series preview, but in this game, I got the Nuggets winning this one. And it's crazy to think those three NBA Christmas, 3 of the 4 Western Conference series. The first one, Thunder Spurs, Lakers Rockets, and the closer Timberwolves Nuggets could all potentially be in their respectively playoff series previews, potentially. Any of those 3 pairings could be a playoff matchup in the 26 playoffs.
Michael Porter Jr. is balling you guys out. I kid you not. Oh man. Oh wait, never mind. Joel Embiid's back in the game. Never mind.
All right.
Anyways, so my hot takes for this year, we will discuss the hot takes come Black Monday. Because by week 18, after the ball drops, when 2026 arrive, this is going to determine who gets fired on Black Monday. This is going to determine who wins the final playoff spot. We'll see the final teams missing out of the playoffs with a winning record. But my hot take is this. I think, in my perspective, the the Ravens now looks like a mediocre team. I'm sorry, but John Harbaugh needs to be terminated. The way how he's been playing in terms of the play call situation, even without Lamar Jackson, they've been playing terrible. Without Lamar Jackson, they've been playing terrible. And as for the GM wise, I could see Joe Shane getting terminated on Black Monday because despite the fact that Joe Shane has been very up and down in terms of drafting, his drafting is hit and misses. Despite having Abdul Carter, despite having Malik Neighbors, but despite having Cam Scottaboo, but despite having Jackson Dart, who by the way, Brian Dable's quarterback, is going to be amazing. But in terms of hiring wise, by the offseason, after the college football playoffs and the NFL playoffs, I could see this as as great hires, bad hires. I could see anything in terms of that. But the Jets, they need to terminate their head coach. But I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna keep it short and sweet to say who gets hired or gets fired. The top 3 coaches that are on the hot seat is Todd Bowles, Joe Shane, and John Harbaugh.
I think it's something that else that we got to bring up. It's that kind of going onto the radar because they're not a top market team, but that's part of the reason I feel like it needs to be brought up. The Arizona Cardinals, though the mess that they are this year, brings to light the fact that, yeah, I don't really think that Kyler Murray was the biggest problem in the organization. People gave him flack because of his Call of Duty playing habits, and he sometimes did have a bit of an immature personality. But have you seen the way the Cardinals have played without him this season?
He's been terrible. They've been
Lo-
they've been terrible ever since.
Losing game after game after game after game after game. You wouldn't even know if this team started off undefeated for the first 2 weeks of the season the way they've been playing. Obviously, there's bigger problems than Kyler Murray. And you remember the 2023 season when Murray's late season injury from the previous year carried over. Remember late in the season when he came back, they managed to play more competitively. They even won a few games during that stretch. And even last year when he played, they weren't great, but they were still competitive and they were a lot better than they are this year. So I think the Arizona Cardinals have bigger problems than Kyler Murray.
By the way, you
Coaching.
did mention earlier about the Las Vegas Raiders missing out a quarterback, right? Which they should have drafted 2 drafts ago. My thing is this: if they win in the Super Tank Bowl, that's it. They miss out on Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, and Ty Simpson. If they if they win out, that's it. The Giants have sole possession of the number 1 pick, and to top it all off, you will have to pretty much lose the very next week. But it's not going to be that simple because you're going up against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs' offense is not looking so great either. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders wins out for the rest of the year, or the Browns destroy their tank at the last moment. We already seen the Jets destroy their tank. If the Giants win out, well, there's no shocker that say we already drafted a quarterback. I would, however, trade that first overall pick to either the Jets, who need a quarterback, or the Raiders. I would love to do that. And personally, I would want Garrett Wilson on the Giants so that way he could help out Jackson Dart. Thank you guys for watching. This is your co-host, Agent Warrior X with Nikki Stees. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And until next time, see you all on New Year's Eve and 2026. Goodbye, my friends. Good night, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a great holiday. It's your boy Nikki Stees signing off. Enjoy Christmas time with your families, whether it's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or multiple days. And for Nikki Stees, the Agent Warrior, happy holidays to you and your families. We'll catch you next.